FPL managers, today we are looking at FPL game week 4. Even though it's 2 weeks away, we're going to give some early thoughts and some transfer tips, especially with Isak joining Liverpool. So guys, like and subscribe and let's get right into it. First off, as we do with these videos, we're looking at the fixture difficulty rating. Now I've got a little tier list in the top left as well, so you can see how I rate each team's fixture run. And the best teams right now I think are Spurs, Aston Villa and Bournemouth. And even though Wolves have a tough fixture in game week 4, I do think they have one of the best fixture runs in the league. But despite all these 6 teams having a great fixture run, I do think this game week is all about Liverpool. They have a couple good game weeks, even 3 good game weeks in a row, then a tough one, but the fixtures that follow aren't insanely difficult. So in general, they have an okay run of games and they are obviously the best attack in the league. So we're all thinking, which attackers should we buy? Even with Wirtz blanking a lot, I've seen a lot of people have sold him, but others think you should hold him, myself included. So there's lots of things to think about in terms of Liverpool, because if you go without the right Liverpool player, you could be in a bad position. In regards to players from the teams with amazing fixture runs, we're mainly going to go through those guys in the players to buy video, which is going to come next week, as game week 4 is a little while away with the international break. So there's going to be no more videos up until, this time next week when we look at players to buy and my team selection, because this video is mainly dedicated to Liverpool players you should be buying, the ones you should be holding, the ones you should maybe be selling, looking at how to bring Isak in. You shouldn't really be making any moves up until closer to the deadline, because with the international break, there could be injuries and surprise changes you need to make to your teams. Fair enough if you want to go for an early transfer to get ahead on the price changes, but I think information is much more important than 0.1 million. Firstly here, I want to look at Haaland versus Salah. For the record, I think if you have Haaland, you should keep him, and if you have Salah, you should keep him as well. I don't think this is any transfer advice here. I just think it's actually hilarious, the difference in the underlying data between these two. You've got Haaland averaging 1.3 expected goals per 90 and Salah with 0.1. It's the same as that of a 5 million midfielder. At 14.5 million, I do think Salah owners need to worry. I think after these 2 easy games playing Burnley and Everton, you could be looking at selling Salah. With Isak coming in, I don't think Salah's output is going to be the same as it was the past 3, 5, 7 years. We've already seen a glimpse of that with Ekitike hogging all the expected goals Liverpool have had so far. As you can see, Salah's data here is abysmal. The fact he's even got a goal and an assist is fairly lucky. And Haaland owners are fairly unlucky to not have more from his expected goals. He's got 3.9 expected goals this season. The second highest is Semenyo with 1.9 expected goals. He is levels above of everyone else in terms of the underlying data. He just needs to actually finish his chances. So yeah, just a quick look at that. Little bit of food for thought. Even though the fixture run for Haaland is harder, I do think he's got triple captain potential in game week 6 against Burnley, and I do think his underlying data is going to be miles ahead of everyone else's for the remainder of this season. On to the other Liverpool midfielders. Gakpo has 20 points, Wirtz has 7. The funny thing is their underlying data is the exact same. It's unreal how much of a difference there is between their point tallies, but that's how it is with FPL sometimes, there's a lot of variance. As for Gakpo himself, I think he might be a sell. And I know he's been doing quite well recently. He's been overperforming the data a bit, but regardless, he's been doing well. My issue is with Isak coming in, Gakpo is probably getting pushed to the bench. I don't see him starting over Ekitike at left wing, despite that being Gakpo's preferred position. I just don't think he's as good of a player as Ekitike. Considering Liverpool also spent a lot on him, I think he's going to be furious if he gets put to the bench and hardly plays. In fact, it's probably against Ekitike's contract. Then you have Wirtz, fair enough. He's been stinky recently as well, but Wirtz will not be losing his place in the starting 11. Out of Liverpool's 4 attackers, I believe there's going to be 2 midfielders. One of them being Salah, who, is kind of unaffordable, or you already have him, and then Wirtz. So if you want to access the Liverpool attack, but you don't want to overspend on Salah, Wirtz is your only option to go for, in my humble opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong. Gakpo could start over Ekitike. I'm not Onslaught. I'm not controlling that Liverpool starting 11. But it seems fairly obvious to me that Gakpo's minutes are going to be a lot worse off. We haven't seen the best of Wirtz yet, but then again, we haven't seen the best of Liverpool in general. In game week 2 and game week 3, they created hardly any expected goals whatsoever. And with these 2 easy games coming up, Liverpool will slowly reveal who their best attackers are. And hopefully Wirtz can be one of them. He's on corners and he's involved in a lot of the gameplay. If you look at the Liverpool games, sure, his underlying data is low, but he's usually at the centre of a lot of attacks. Whereas you look at the wide players and they're not involved as much as the ones in the centre, which is why I think Salah could be overpriced in the near future. Ekitike and Isak. If Isak didn't join Liverpool, I think Ekitike would be the #1 Liverpool player to go for. But now Isak is here, I don't think you should be looking at Ekitike whatsoever. I think, in fact, Ekitike owners are hard done by, but then again, the chance of Isak joining Liverpool is why a lot of us went without Ekitike. So at the end of the day, you guys who own Ekitike kind of had it coming. Isak is over 10 million. He's a premium player that's not going to be on penalties, which is a worry. But he is going to be a player starting as striker in that Liverpool attack and will no doubt be hogging all the expected goals from open play. There is no doubt in my mind. This once again is another signing which is quite negative for Mohamed Salah, and it's negative for Ekitike. Either he's going to be playing in a front two, which I find unlikely, or he's going to be pushed to the left wing. Either way, his output is going to go down. We got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano in the late hours of Sunday night, early hours of Monday morning. I forget the exact time. But he's got 2 weeks to settle into the team. There's an international break, and I'm not just going to naturally assume that Isak is 100% going to be starting for Game Week 4. That obviously has to be considered, but we will know closer to the deadline. As for his minutes in Game Week 4, obviously he's a new signing. He may need to train with the team a little bit before he starts, but Isak is one of the best strikers in the world. I don't think he needs time to settle in. In fact, I think playing him against Burnley is a great time to have him settle in anyway, because it's not like it's a difficult game for Liverpool. Even if he comes on as a sub against Burnley, there's every chance he does get a few big chances. So yeah, for now, we'll assume he is going to come in and start Game Week 4, but just keep your wits about you, you know? Don't just assume it's a 100% definite. Keep an eye on the team news, keep an eye on what the press conferences are saying. It's like I said earlier in the video, don't make early transfers if you don't need to. Just wait to hear what's going to happen with Isak, then make your move closer to the deadline. Guys, let me talk you through this one. The top row here is the transfer you can make to bring in Isak. The 3 transfers below are ones you can use to supplement it. You don't need to make all 3, you just need to make one of them. Now that top row, you're looking at Watkins, Ekitike and Gyökeres. Now, I'm not saying you should definitely sell these forwards for Isak if you have them. In fact, I don't believe there's a right or wrong decision. I'm just saying these guys are pretty much your only access point if you do want Isak. Or if you have Haaland, you could sell him quite easily for Isak. But that is a rookie mistake. Please don't do that. Now, if you have an 8 to 9 million midfielder that you don't want, maybe Wirtz, you could sell him. Maybe Bruno Fernandes, maybe Marmoush. There's a couple others that are low owned. Me personally, I think it's quite risky to sell either Wirtz or Bruno, but they are technically the only ones a lot of you are going to own to help you supplement that Isak transfer. Me personally, I own Watkins as a 9 million forward, or 8.9 million, and Wirtz as that midfielder between 8 and 9 million, and that is the route I would have to go down to get Isak in my team. The risk with this is it could be a sideways move. Wirtz and Watkins could easily end up outscoring Isak and Salah. Also, if you have plenty in the bank, you could go to someone like Semenyo instead of Salah, but a lot of you probably already have Semenyo. And for the record, I don't believe you should get Isak for a -4. If you don't have free transfers, I don't necessarily recommend this. I think it's way too risky because these moves are sideways transfers at the end of the day. You're not exactly upgrading your team. You're repositioning it in the hopes that Isak can pop off and become an amazing FPL asset, and that your expensive to mid-price midfielder still keeps blanking. If you have someone like Gakpo or in that price range, you could be looking at Tavernier to help you afford Isak. Tavernier is a sleeper pick, guys. Not many people are thinking of him. He is a differential. His underlying data is pretty good, and he's only 1% owned. And like I mentioned earlier, that Bournemouth fixture run is really, really good. And when I recommend you sell a midfielder between 7 and 8 million, please don't let that midfielder be Semenyo. Like I said, it could be Gakpo, it could be someone else in your team that you don't really want anymore. As for midfielders priced between 6 and 7 million, this is when you're quite desperate. There's a 4.5 million midfielder called Joshua King, who has started every single game for Fulham and has home to Leeds and home to Brentford up next, which makes it a great entry point to buy in on him. But there's no guarantee he's going to start, and he could just be bench fodder for you. So if you don't have a spare bench option to play ahead of him, I personally would not recommend this one either. So in conclusion, while there are a lot of routes to go for Isak in your team, they're not all necessarily great. In fact, I don't believe any of them are amazing. I think at best they are just okay and they could work. But if you guys have given up on some players in your team like Watkins, Wirtz, etc., Gakpo, this is the route you want to take to bring Isak in. Let me know if you think I'm missing anyone else. You know, if there's a different player you should bring in to help you afford Isak, or a different player you should sell. Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, guys, if you did make it this far, thank you very much for watching. You are greatly appreciated, and I will see you all in a week's time for the next video.